Okay, I'm going to test. Is that good for everybody in the room?
Testing.
Testing?
Testing.
Testing.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Meet the Candidates event for the Galway School Board elections. All 4 candidates on the ballot were invited, and all are in attendance. This event was organized by the Central School District and is moderated by the League of Women Voters of Saratoga County. We are very excited to participate in this candidate event with the Galway School District. It will be recorded and posted on the school district website. League rules require that if a Meet the Candidates event is recorded, it must be broadcast or rebroadcast in its entirety. With that in mind, we ask that audience members refrain from filming any portion of tonight's event. My name is Anne-Marie Pendergast. I am a member of the League of Women Voters of Saratoga County. I live in the town of Greenfield, and I will be your moderator tonight. The League of Women Voters of Saratoga County is a nonpartisan, volunteer, political organization dedicated to the informed and responsible participation of citizens in government. The League never supports or opposes any political party or candidate. That has been League policy since 1920. Membership is open to anyone who is eligible to register and vote, so please consider joining the League. I would like to thank the school district for arranging this event and you, the audience, for attending and watching. I realize that many of you have very strong opinions about issues that will be discussed tonight. However, I will insist that the candidates and the audience treat each other with respect. Please refrain from cheering, applauding, making comments, or otherwise interrupting. We have 4 candidates this evening for 2 available seats. We want to give them a chance to answer as many questions as possible. With this in mind, I also ask the audience to hold all applause until the candidates finish their closing statements. We have received questions from the public in advance. These were reviewed by League members, and questions were selected to be representative and to avoid redundancy. Questions of a personal nature were not included. None of the candidates had access to the questions ahead of time. Candidates, this is your opportunity to let voters know your stance on these topics and how you will address the issues facing the school district. Please do not waste valuable time tearing down or labeling your opponent. Deal with the facts. In your closing statement, please do not put your opponents on the spot with no chance for reply. We have 2 timers for this evening's event. Signs will be held up for the candidates to glance at. Green means 1 minute left, yellow means 30 seconds left, and red means time is up. If you do not stop, a bell will ring. The names of the 4 candidates for the 2 school board seats in alphabetical order are Kristen Ansuski, Michelle Bombard, Karen English, and J.T. Teeling. The candidates drew lots for who will go first for each statement, and the first to speak tonight is Karen. You can do your opening statements.
Hi, I'm Karen English. I have no official opening statement, only to say that I am very proud of the work that the board has done over the past 5 years that I've been a member.
Thank you. Kristen?
My name is Kristen Anazuski. Hello. I live in Galway with my family for the past 18 years and have served on the Friends of the Galway Public Library. I've also enjoyed volunteering at various other committees and events over the years here in Galway. And I think that's about it. I'm an occupational therapist. I do home care, and I'm looking forward to continuing to serve the community in any way I can to keep Galway and our school as special as it is. It's a great community. I'm happy to be a part of it.
Thank you. Michelle?
Hi, I'm Michelle Bombard. I'm a Galway class of 1993. My husband Mark is also a Galway graduate, as is many generations of his family. And we have 2 boys who are both going to be in high school next year, which is really crazy. I want to start out by thanking the community for entrusting me to run 2 terms on the board. I'm very proud of our school district and the progress that I've seen it show over the last 8 years on the board. I ask you to think back and look back 4 years ago, 8 years ago, and where our school district was and how much it has improved. And there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes by the board, by the school district, by the administration. It takes a lot of work. So we can't do it, though, without the support of our community, of our students, of the community, the staff. So we need that continued input and guidance. So I do look forward to that continued input for the next 4 years. We can't do it without you. I do thank you for entrusting the board to make decisions. We have to make a lot of very hard decisions, sometimes not always what we would personally want, and I know that you're entrusting us to make those decisions for what's best for the entirety of our students and our district. That we're making those decisions not based on our own personal opinions, not on our own biases, and not on just select agendas, but what's best for the entire district as a whole. Our priority is always the students, their education, their safety, their wellness. We want to make sure that to them, school is home base for them. We want them to be proud of the school district, proud to be here, proud to graduate from here, to go on to do great things, and ideally to want to make this where they raise their family and continue to be part of this community. So thank you.
Thank you. JT?
Good evening, my name is JT Teeling. I'm running for a seat on the board, as everybody else is. Like Michelle, I'm a lifelong resident of the town of Galway. I graduated in '97. My wife graduated, I won't say it. My son goes here, my parents went here. I love everything about the school. I love the community. I have no negative comments about the school or any work that the board has done. I do want to say that if I have the opportunity to run for, or to be on the board, that I would just like to further build on what's already been established and try to make it the best it absolutely can be.
Thank you. Now it's time for questions. Candidates will have 1.5 minutes to respond to a question. You're not required to respond. You may pass if you wish. Each candidate will be afforded 2 opportunities to request an additional minute during the question and answer session. Please hold up your red card and wait to be acknowledged by me before you begin your extra minute. The timers and I will keep track of the number of extra minutes used. This may only be done during the questions, not the closing statement. Questions will be alternately directed to candidates in rotation so that everyone gets a chance to respond first. The first question is going to Karen. And if you ever need me to repeat a question, you can ask me to repeat the question as well. The first question is, what policies would you advocate to ensure all students have a welcoming and safe environment?
I do not have all the policy names memorized. But I am to let you know that we actively run through our policies to make sure that they are up to date, accurate. And actually, to prep for this, I went through the last 5 years of meeting minutes. And if you were to browse them, available on our website, you'll see that there is always, here's the first reading of policy XYZ. So they are, thank you very much, they are actively being run through so that all students has that feeling of welcome, the inclusive in the school. And that's something I'm very proud of, that our administration is on top of keeping those policies up to date. And not just being reactive, but we're proactive and looking at them constantly.
Thank you. Kristen?
So I think that's a great question. I think a big part of feeling comfortable and confident is feeling safe in school. So I think that continuing to focus on the safety of the school and the community really would be a valuable topic to focus on. And
Thank you. Michelle?
Yeah, it's hard if you're not, on the board and see the changes. Again, I think input from the community is the biggest key. Coming to board meetings definitely is something I encourage everybody to do and encourage your friends to do, because as Karen said, you will see we have a policy committee made up of multiple board members and additional stakeholders, and they're reviewing those policies. So I'm very comfortable in the policies that we have, and we have them for a reason, and they are there for the safety stuff and for many other reasons. But the ones that are there for safety are put there to make sure that our students feel comfortable and safe and at home in our school. I think that if we come across policies where we do hear that we think that it needs to be changed, that's where we ask for that community input, and we can always go back and look at them. And there's usually not a quick change to any policies because the policies are well done, and that's why you're trusting the board to make sure those policies are put in place and give us that safety that we need.
Thank you. JT?
As a newcomer to the board, I don't know policy numbers or names, but I will unfortunately have to mirror some of what you guys have been saying. I'm a very big proponent for student safety, physical safety, and mental safety. I like them to come to a school, feel secure, feel that they can be whoever they want to be. So any policies that would help to nurture an inclusive and inviting environment that will allow children to be their true selves without threat of ridicule is anything that I would like to support.
Thank you. The next question will be answered first by Kristen. The question is, how do you work with people who do not share your views? How do you handle a decision that did not go your way?
So I think we can all learn a lot from other people's perspectives and opinions. So we all bring something different to the table, and it's all valuable. There's insight that people have from different experiences that they have in their life or their work or their families, and I think all of that is really valuable and should be respected when having conversations and determining different things within a group, within a community. So it's distracting. I know. It's good. So yeah, I think that just kind of respecting it, that everyone has altering opinions. Sometimes it doesn't coalesce, and just being respectful of that and trying to support each other is a good way to participate in a group or situation when people have different points of view.
Thank you. Next is Michelle.
So we very frequently come across people with varying opinions, especially in the last 4 to 5 years. I think the biggest thing is that we need those different opinions. We need the community to come to us, the students to come to us, to tell us when they think that something should be done differently, and their reason why. And I think the reasoning is the biggest thing. The reason we have 7 people on the board is because none of us have the same opinions. We talk over and we bring each to the table a little bit different, views. And that's where we work together as a team to figure out why we need to change things, and if we need to change things, to make sure that it is benefiting our students in our district overall. The biggest thing that we ask is that if people have different views, different opinions, that they come to us and they're kind and they're gentle and they are nice and they ask, how can I help? How can we do better? And that we also respond in the same way. And nothing gets done if we don't do it kindly. So if there's differing opinions, but there's hostility with them, then it doesn't really go very far. So as long as everything's done with kindness, we can learn a lot from each other and our different opinions.
Thank you. JT?
I believe that a lot of the best policies that school districts have and or towns, communities, anything, come from collaboration. Some of the best conversations I've had in my personal life and professional life have come from having conversations with people with opposing opinions. You get the opportunity to get some insight as to where their opinion is coming from, and in some cases, it can actually help to give you some understanding and some empathy, and maybe even help to collaborate to have a better solution so that everybody can be happy. I believe everybody should be happy at least some of the time. It has to be done respectfully. It has to be done with tact and kindness, as has been said. But I also want to put out that if a decision doesn't go your way, it's beneficial for the kids. It's beneficial for the community, the environment of the school. Then it doesn't go your way. It doesn't have to go your way all the time, as long as you're doing the best that you can do for the children, and everybody on the board, from what I've seen, has those same qualities and same aspects that they want to further that for the children. So if it doesn't go your way, it doesn't go your way.
Thank you. Now we will pass the microphone down to Karen. Karen's the last one for this question.
I'm just happy I wasn't the first on the question. So ultimately, in this role, it requires listening and in some cases empathy and wearing the hat of the Board of Education member. Ultimately for me, it's for the decision that we would be making when making discussions is what would be best for the children. When I ran in 2019, my lineup was what's best for the children, what's best for the taxpayers, and my apologies, then what's best for the administration. So it's ultimately listening, working with your team, and what is it of this conversation that will benefit best our children, our community, our school.
Thank you. The next question will be answered first by Michelle. The question is, what drives you to want to become or continue to be a board member?
To continue progress. Again, like I said in my opening statements, this is home, and I want our students to feel like this is home. For the students who maybe their home environment isn't great, I want school to be the place where they're coming home. And I want generations. You know, we look at our, our taxpayers. There's some people who may not be inclined to say, why should I vote to, pay more for taxes? I don't have any kids or even grandkids, in the school district. But in the end, everybody benefits if our students are happy and healthy and thriving, because we want them to be able to come back and want to raise their kids here and continue to be part of this community. And so by making the school district the best that it can be, make our kids proud of being here, that's what we're looking for. And we always have more to do. So just want to be able to continue to do that for the next 4 years.
Thank you. JT?
What motivates me is I love my community. I'm very, very proud of my alma mater. I actually get choked up when the bus pulls in and my son Jake, who's in the audience, gets off in his track uniform or soccer uniform. It brings me back to when I was in school. It's actually something I have to actually do after every event. I just get back here. I have a lot of family in this community. I have a lot of family that's going to be coming up through. And I've spent the last 22 years of my career, I worked for a school district and the operations and maintenance part of it, where everything's been kid-centric for me. I've worked with my wife in my off hours in her daycare. My entire world revolves around kids and what's best for kids and what I believe I can do to make their day better. For me, it's not, can you make the next year better? Some kids just need that day to be better. And if you can improve that for one child, that's all the motivation I need.
Thank you. Karen?
So I did not go to Galway. All of my children have gone to Galway. My husband went kindergarten and graduated in Galway. My dad was in the service. We traveled many different schools. So I was very jealous of all these relationships that this community has. But why I want to continue to be a board member is the change that can be made here for the community. In 2019, we were able to pass the Veterans Tax Assessment Exemption, allowing savings for the taxpayer for those veterans. And I was very proud of that. And I know there's one going around for firefighters. So it's something that I'd like with the board to actively look at to see if that's something that we could offer for their service to our community to help with their taxes. So again, always the children, but always looking towards how can we better our community in addition.
Thank you. Next is Kristen.
I agree with the community also. The kids, of course, are important. I have 2 kids in the district and have had lots of experiences over the years, good and bad, with frustrations with children, if anyone can relate. And the school district has always been really wonderful to deal with, and the community getting to see different things happening and how everyone rallies around each other and supports each other. It's remarkable, and I really enjoy being a part of this special place that we have to live in and share. So I think that I would like to be on the board to continue doing that, just supporting the development and improvement of our school and promoting positive relationships between the board and the school and the community in any way that I can.
Thank you. The next question will start with JT. You're doing a great job with the mic. The question is, what is your view on administrative pay increases at a time when student programs are being cut and positions in the district are being eliminated?
My view on that would be you have to take a lot of things into consideration. You have to evaluate how the increase has gone in years past, what programs are being cut, has the administrator been there a long time? Are they likely to stay? Is the community and the board happy with the administrators? You don't necessarily want to just say, no, we're not going to give them a raise, because everybody deserves it no matter what your job is. If increases are going up, things are going up, expenses are going up, it's not wrong to give an administrator an increase. Perhaps negotiate it a little bit leaner, but I don't see anything wrong with giving an administrator an increase. I believe a lot of that comes from separate fundings, but I could be mistaken.
Thank you. Next up is Karen.
So that question is curious because I know we're not getting rid of any positions. And the budget meeting that we just had for the budget that's going out for vote on the 21st mentions that the curriculum for the students will broaden. But if the budget for some reason does not pass, the administration, you will see, are the ones that are losing the money. It's not any positions, it's not any classes that are going to be cut. So if you're watching, if you're sending that question, I would encourage you to read the handout that came out about the budget, where the money's going, where the cuts are, because the administration is going to be the first ones that are going to be losing with the funding.
Thank you. Kristen?
So I think that is an important detail. I think that's an impressive way to kind of strategize where the money goes, where it flows. I think that it's hard to make an answer to that question without knowing a lot more details and specifics. So I think that I would just need more information to be able to answer that in a way that I felt was fair and just.
Thank you. Michelle?
Yes, so another reason for people to come to board meetings, there is a very strict calendar that we have to abide by. The budget hearing that we just had is one of them. But all of that is very much laid out. In addition, as part of the board, what you're entrusting us to do is to go through negotiations for contracts. So with the teachers, with the administrators, with CSEA, with the teachers union, all of that takes, we look at it as a whole to make sure we're doing what's best for the district. And we're making sure that we're able to get, we want the best of teachers. We want the best of administrators. We want the best of everybody, and we want to be able to pay them fairly. And so that is across the board, whether you're talking about the pay for administrators or your custodial staff or your maintenance staff or your teachers. We look at all of them based on where they stand and what they need. And we need to make sure, it's a struggle that we always have being a small school district, trying to be able to make sure that we're competitive so that we're hopefully not always the stepping stone. We see a lot of teachers and administrators come and they are here just to move on to a bigger school, maybe not necessarily better. So we want them to be able to want to stay here. So we need to make sure we're looking at that for all of our employees whatsoever. But programs getting cut is not usually on the docket.
Thank you. This next question will go to Karen first. What are your priorities for the school budget? What are your views on piercing the tax cap?
I believe we have come out with a really nice budget for the May 21st budget vote. Nothing extravagant, definitely everything that we need. And if I were to continue on the board, I'm really looking forward to calling the governor often, more than necessary, regarding the electric buses, because the cost of those is just nuts. So we're going to put this $1 million away for the next 15 years, again, not all at once, a little bit at a time, so that if we're not going to be hard pressed when the time comes if we have to pull out a couple electric buses, which are like triple the cost of a regular bus. It's just nuts, and I encourage everyone to call the governor and let her know how nuts it is. But yeah, I think we've done really well with this one. And we listened for the taxpayers in the December's budget, so thank you for coming out to vote on that one.
Thank you. Kristen?
I think my priority would be to continue to support program development. That we are small, but we have so many wonderful options for the kids to learn and grow and experience. For a small school, we really offer a wide variety of topics and skills, which you don't know until you try it. So it's a nice way to broaden the horizons of kids in our community. So I think that would be one of my main things that I would like to support, is continue to work on creative ways to support program development.
Thank you. Michelle?
Yeah, so a lot of work goes into the budget. We want to make sure programming first is always what we're looking at. And then certainly there is always an increase in especially benefits, for our staff. So there's all of that needs to, just be taken into consideration. And so to some degree, we always have a reserve, and we're trying to use that slow and steady so that if something like with Governor Hochul was able to go through with what she had threatened to go through, where we lost funding for our Save Harmless Act, we would be able to manage through that if all of a sudden we didn't get what we need. But ideally, we always want to make sure that we're making sure that our taxes are staying reasonable. Again, we want our kids to be able to come back here and do that, but programming is always first. The most important thing is knowing that we're trying to put together a budget that gets everything where our taxes are not really going up any more than we possibly need them to, but that we're getting the program and also the other opportunities for our students, which is amazing, and doing it justly. So come out and vote yes for the budget is the key.
Thank you. JT?
I agree with you 100%. It's been my personal golden rule. I've never voted down a school budget. I think that's, you're playing with fire when you do that. You get into dealing with costs that are astronomical in some things because of the restrictions under a contingency budget. You're forbidden from buying new equipment in a lot of ways, and it could take ridiculous money to fix the old, and that's what you have to do. So I think it's great to support a budget. I think it's great to get the kids the program that they need. I think it's fantastic to keep the extracurriculars such as the arts programs and the sports. I think that does a lot for the kids and a lot for their morale and their camaraderie, team building, and just the way they mesh. As far as the tax cap, going above the tax cap, if you absolutely had to, I think it would be a good idea to present it to the community in early budget hearings and get their feedback and lay it out. This is what it could look like, and this is what it, but try to keep it responsible and reasonable so we're not trying to keep programming or keep things that we shouldn't be trying to keep in a tough time.
Thank you. The next question will start with Kristen. As a school board member, how would you vote on banning books?
I don't believe in banning books. That's it. Yeah, that's it. What's that? Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Michelle?
We did have many meetings over the summer based on two different books that there were two complaints about that they were looking to be removed from the curriculum. And in the end, we ended up keeping them. There was a committee that was put together to review them, and all of the board members had to read both books. And it was a great experience for us as a board. We learned a lot from it. I think that it brought a lot of people together. It brought a lot of people to our board meetings. It was great to be able to get that feedback from everybody. So in the end, it was a good thing. But I think that unless we trust our teachers to pick what books need to be available for our students to help our curriculum, to make sure that they're getting the education that they need, that they aren't sequestered in this small little town when they get out into the bigger world. I know after being in Galway, I went to Binghamton, and it's a whole different world out there. So these books give us that ability to learn what's out there.
Thank you. JT?
I would imagine that this is a correct statement in saying that school boards have protocols in place when concerns like this are brought forth by the community. I don't fault anybody in the community for bringing their concerns forward. I feel it's the duty of the board to air them out and bring it to the whole board and then move forward as they did. I am not a fan of banning anything like that. I've yet to see something that would be justified to ban or to take away. I don't think the board did anything wrong. I feel like the steps that were taken were informative, and I believe there's a clause that says you can pick a different book. So I don't really understand all of that, but I wouldn't want to ban a book.
Thank you. And down to Karen.
So I do believe in the voice of the parents for their children, and JT, you're correct, there is a process in place. And they did have the opportunity to look at the books before the children were to read them. They did not, and then they were stunned when they found what was in the content of the book. So there was a process in place for them to go forward to say, I don't want, this in the curriculum. I will never ban a book, again, as long as those parents have the voice for that process.
Thank you. The next question will go first to Michelle. What is the single biggest concern or issue you see for the district now and in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think a lot of it is just us getting back on track. I think we've recovered well after the last, 3-4 years of not being in normal. Let's just put it that way. And I think we're still recovering. I think that we're still trying to get back to, the quote unquote new normal. And so a lot of that things, even just down to, okay, kids get to take SATs, does it count for them to get in college or not? There's all these random little questions that are coming up that I think we're still weeding through sort of the aftermath. And so I think that the school has handled it well, handled it gracefully. It's something that none of us ever thought we needed to go through. I'm proud that we were, a part of it to get through it. And I think we're still, trying to figure out where to go from here. But I feel like we're back on track, and I think really just making sure that we have a well-rounded school district is, I think, our biggest task, at hand right now.
Thank you. JT?
I think the biggest task that faces the school is the word change. The environment out there is changing by the day, and I, for one, am not a fan of that word. I think it scares people. I think it frightens those that have been community residents for a lot of years when we start throwing the word change around. Growth, I think, is the direction that we need to grow. We need to move forward. We need to acclimate so that everybody feels that they belong, so that everybody feels like this is where they want to call home. But it needs to be done in a way that alumni, such as Michelle and myself, can still recognize that this is Galway, that this is the school that we love, this is the school that my son loved, and this is going to be hopefully the school that my grandkids love and far off, just way out in the future. But that's why I think the biggest challenge for schools is growing and evolving in a manner that makes everybody feel like you can move here, but that we haven't lost what here is all about.
Thank you. I'll pass the mic down to Karen. Sure. What is the single biggest concern or issue you see for the district now and in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think our children are still recovering from COVID. So the biggest change, I think, for them is making sure that their mental health is taken care of, if I'm answering the question correctly. I'd like to see that be forefront along with, Galway itself, I consider, is like a bubble. It's a beautiful bubble, but there's an outside constantly pushing in. So my goal is to make sure the children are ready.
Thank you. Kristen?
I think one of the biggest concerns is it's not just to Galway, it's everywhere, the division within our society. Adds a lot of stress and tension to relationships and interactions, and I think that is one of the biggest concerns probably within the next 5 to 10 years, hopefully no longer. It's fixed after that. But I think that one of the things that is important to me is, working to bring people together to support our community and our school, and finding ways to meet common ground to achieve the goals that we all have, which sounds like everyone cares. Everyone wants this to be a good place that we're happy in, that kids are happy in, so just supporting that.
Thank you. Michelle, one more minute for Michelle.
I tend to think. I think one of the biggest things that we have been struggling with is communication. communication amongst the staff, communication amongst, the students and the entire school, communication between the community and the school. We're trying hard. Social media and videos and, everything that's going out, newsletters, emails, Parent Square, new websites coming out. We're trying really hard, but it's a changing environment, and we have a lot of different people with a lot of different ways that they communicate. And again, feedback is what we need. So, if we're not getting information out to you, how do you want that to come to you? And I think that's the biggest thing, is that the more communication we have, people can have a lot of answers to these questions without necessarily having to make it to a board meeting if they can't make it to it. So I think that's something that is definitely on target.
Thank you. The next question will go to JT first. What are your thoughts on building updates for various infrastructure projects after the recent building proposal was defeated?
Well, I'm a firm believer that infrastructure updates need to be made, and we need to stay on top of them. Those are the most expensive, unseen items of the school budget or school bond. Boilers are extremely expensive. It's very expensive to run new wiring and update panel boxes so that we can support all the technology that we have. I think a bond proposal slightly more modest would pass the community. I've heard a lot of community feedback about it, and I'm not opposed to updating the building. I'm not opposed to keeping up with the building so that we're making an investment in something that's not continuously deteriorating and becoming something that needs ridiculous amounts of money and work to just make it safe for the children. I'm a strong believer in the security updates and those types of things they're very high priority that those updates are done.
Thank you. Karen?
Yeah, we just had major flooding and we've had classrooms displaced. So the core infrastructure is always high priority, and we want to make sure that that's in the budget, make sure that's taken care of. It was awesome to have the community come out for that vote, and that's the messages that we're looking for. Would have been a little nicer if they'd come to the meetings, so we'd be, a little bit more prepared. But no, absolutely. The big gym was a bit much for me, but again, it's working with your team, listening, understanding that, yes, it's X amount of dollars, but if you wait 5 years down the road, how much more is it going to cost when it finally is starting to deteriorate if you don't invest now? So,
Thank you. Kristen?
Yeah, I think that building updates are important. It's also important to balance with that, like what is needed with what the community can support. So I think looking at all those factors and trying to balance it, and communication, like Michelle said, figuring out ways to get that out to people and hear the feedback is good, because all the work that goes into coming up with these the plans isn't anything to dismiss. So yeah, I think that they are important, and but also, like I said, balancing that with what the community can support and get behind. So
Thank you. Michelle?
So yeah, again, it comes back to trying to get the communication. I think there's always ongoing. So even though we had a big, proposal for a capital improvement, there still is every year a certain amount of money that goes towards the regular upkeep to just keep things maintained and running, and that's always in the general budget. So there is that in addition, but every once in a while we want to do, more than just keep it so it's not falling apart. Again, we want our students to be proud. We want our community to be proud. We would like the community to be able to use the school more. But we need to hear from the community what they want. And the more that we hear about what you want, the more it allows us to be able to hone in a little bit more. So I ask that, give us that information. What are you looking for? So the more information we get back, the better going forward. But certainly the maintenance is always happening. Certainly safety is always our key, and that is always happening. So continuing with that input is key, and realizing that sometimes there's a cost to doing something just to get started. Sometimes we want to make it a little bit more than that, just so we have a building that stays there for another 60, 80 years.
Thank you. The next question is going to go to Karen first. What ideas do you have and would you advocate for to help increase retention among teachers, staff, bus drivers, aides, etc.?
Well, we've heard from them, and the first thing that they're going to tell us is a raise. So, that is part of, again, the budget, because you have your union contractions, and Michelle touched on it earlier that you want to hold on to those good people that are here, right? Those teachers, those custodians, those administrators. You want the best in the area that are teaching your children. And how do you go about that is through careful coordination with talking with those unions, and then again, going back to your administration, your finance, how can we help this? Bus drivers right now is going to be a very hard conversation, and it's not just Galway, it's all around the area, and it's a true fact that we're not able to get bus drivers and to keep bus drivers, and those conversations are going to have to be had. But it's working with and letting them know how much they are appreciated, because sometimes it's not just about money, right? It's about letting them know through conversations that you guys are doing a hell of a job, and it is deeply appreciated.
Thank you. Next is Kristen.
So money is important to be able to, keep the lights on and, enjoy day-to-day life and all that. But I think the camaraderie and the relationships, like I said before, this is a special place. Galway's special. So I think sorry, I keep looking at you, sorry. Galway's a special place, and I think that focusing on that also, benefits that aren't benefits, that are unique to our community, in addition to working to get as much financial incentive also, they're both important aspects. So I'm gonna pass it on.
Thank you. Michelle?
It is always a struggle. Like I said, we want to make sure that we're keeping our salary and our benefits competitive, to be able to make sure that we are able to get the quality staff that we want. But it isn't just about pay. So again, getting communication even amongst our staff and making sure that work environment is what they want. Just like we want our students to feel at home. You spend a lot of time at work, and I certainly see a lot of our staff here well beyond their hours, and their dedication to the school is amazing. And again, appreciation for that is definitely key. We really appreciate them, but making sure that they love their job and have that work environment, and that they're appreciated and they feel like they're a part of the team. That is something that we're always striving to make sure that is a big part of the job and of their home.
Thank you. JT?
Money is always going to be, we've all said it, it does help to keep people in retention. One of the biggest things is when you bump up your funding, it has to be looked at a big picture. You bump it up at the low end to entice new people to come in, and then your longtime people aren't really making that much anymore. So these are all factors that have to go into it when you're trying to decide how to entice new people and how to keep your current people. I'm sure there's different policies that could be looked at. Perhaps if drivers are putting in lots of extra hours, I know our driver specifically does multiple runs. She'll drop our kids off and then go out and do a whole other run. Those things should be documented and recorded so that if that person gets to the point where they need to take a sick day or they may use a little bit more time than is preferred in like an HR setting, that we're documenting that so that it can't be held against them down the road. That'll help to show appreciation. Hey, we acknowledge you're going above and beyond, and that could go for anybody. People that are working double shifts, shifts and a half to keep the building clean and safe and keep the grounds mowed. Appreciation goes a long way, and realizing that we can't do any of the jobs without everybody's job functioning perfectly. It goes seamless with everybody being able to do their thing.
Thank you. The next question will go to Kristen first. What is your view on arming teachers?
I don't feel like that would be a safe idea for teachers to be armed in the school. I think that's the security officer that we have, or officers, plural, now is, and kind of maintaining the safety procedures and changes that we've done to update the school to make it as safe as possible in those respects. But I think the teachers, they need to focus on being able to do their job teaching and bettering our students and educating our students, helping them. It's a hard time. I think that even doing that is getting more and more complicated, and with them having to worry about being armed to defend against possible threats. I think that's asking too much the teachers. So,
thank you. Michelle?
Yes, I would be opposed to staff being armed. We've come a long way. I was on the safety committee when it really first got up and started, when there were school shootings to get started. If you remember back then, and again, think back, 4 or 8 years and where the school was, the doors weren't locked. So part of that committee was really looking at how can we get the doors locked, how can we get badges so we get safe entry, we keep our students safe, yet we're not locking our community out. So a lot has come a long way. And there's things that, are difficult with it. We have to run into what do students do if they walk outside and it's cold out and their ride isn't here and now they can't get away in. So we now, we have an aide who is at the door. They might have to walk around the school, but they can get back in. So we have a lot of security measures, and then certainly having the SRO officer has been an amazing experience. I think it makes our students feel safe. It makes the staff feel safe. And ideally, if we ever felt the need to arm our staff, we should be looking at adding additional SRO officers who are trained and capable of handling a situation like that.
Thank you. JT?
I'm sure there could be an argument made to say that through some extensive psychiatric evaluations, because it is an intense thing to carry a firearm in school. I'm sure there's people that would pass with flying colors. That doesn't mean it's a good idea. I don't think teachers should focus on anything other than teaching. I don't think maintenance staff should necessarily be on custodial staff, food service. I like the idea of adding an SRO if that came to it. But at the same time, I would like to see policies where you could hire retired police officers. They retire in their 40s and early 50s and are still very active, very good at what they do. And if they were a cop for all those years, I think they would do a fantastic job protecting our children. People don't like to hear it, but bad guys don't go to places where people are equally equipped. Doesn't mean teachers should be equipped, but I think it's safe to say that the talk should be there for professional staff to be armed.
Thank you. Pass the mic down to Karen.
So that's a hard no for me. And I'd rather take that $100,000 for another SRO and put it into that capital project that was gonna make that portal entry on the high school side safer. I'd rather put it into our infrastructure to make it harder, right? You're gonna have to swipe to get in, you're gonna maybe perhaps have to swipe to get out. But I'd rather have the money go there. I would vote no for guns and schools.
Thank you. The next question will first go to Michelle. What do you feel is the best way to handle questions from the community when asked at a board meeting?
So when we are in official board meetings, there's time for public comment. The public comment, we always have the president of the board, who is the one who typically will respond. In general, if they deem that it's needed. In general, the public comment, when you come and give us information, we want to be able to take that information and get the information that we need to be able to answer your question or to be able to help you out with what it's going to be. And usually between the board president and the superintendent, if they have any of that information available, they sometimes will answer the question, but most of the time it is going to be getting back to whoever's asking the question or having it available for information at the next board meeting. But usually that information comes to us for us to be able to get your input and be able to get the information for you so we can give you a knowledgeable response and be able to move forward from there so we can have a working communication about it going forward.
Thank you. JT?
I think those policies and protocols are exactly the way it should go. I don't think people should be engaging in intense dialogue when caught off guard by a particular question that could be of a sensitive nature. I think it's better to regroup and revisit. A lot of regretful things can be said in the heat of a moment as conversations can escalate. I've been at several board meetings. I feel like I do a good job at it. I've heard Mrs. Donovan, Dr. Donovan, say that she'll email you, she'll get back to you. I've heard the same from board members and things like that. So I don't really think it needs to be adjusted or changed.
Thank you. Karen?
Yeah, the board meetings, the public comment is strictly, honestly, that's the rules that we have to follow. It's a comment. So those comments are taken down to be discussed then at a future meeting with all the board members. And it was very frustrating during some of the meetings in the past year because they had all these concerns and they wanted their answers immediately, but it was not the place. We listen, we take those down, and then we take it to the next meeting for them to the staff, the administration, to then give us any feedback we need to then, if we had to make any kind of decision. Unfortunately, it could never be a question answer situation. Public comment was strictly that public comment. And yes, that is very frustrating for those that are making up, coming up with concerns during the board meetings. And we're very happy that they're there. We want them there. We want to hear their concerns. But there is that chain of, command that has to run through. So we do have to follow that.
Thank you. Kristen?
Yeah, I think the best way to handle those kind of situations is very important to have feedback from the community, and I think to have better perspectives come up or points of view and having to go back or change. So having well thought out answers for the questions presented is important. So I think it's valuable to have that input at the meetings and then be able to take time to get back with a response that's appropriate and effective.
Thank you. The next question will go first to JT. Do you support applying for the electric school bus grant from NYSERDA, which covers all costs for switching to electric buses above the cost of replacing a diesel bus?
If the grant covers all costs, I would be curious to know, does it cover the infrastructure upgrades that are going to be required to charge batteries that large? I would want to see some safety data on it. I've seen a lot of battery-powered vehicles that have had some serious issues, and before I would want 30, 40, 50 kids on a bus, I'd like to make sure that it's the absolute safest it could possibly be. I think applying for a grant, if we have to move forward in that manner, is a great way to save the taxpayers on the money. But there are a lot of concerns, I think, that go along with just the electric buses in general, such as how are they going to hold up in extreme temperatures and climbing the hills in northern Galway and things like that through winter. Are we really putting the kids in the safest situation we can?
Thank you. Pass the mic to Karen.
So the question said, do you support?
Do you support applying for the electric school bus grant, which covers all costs for switching to electric buses above the cost of replacing a diesel bus?
So we're under the leadership, it's stated, they want to move everybody over to electric. So do we want to apply for a grant? Absolutely. Do we want free money? Absolutely. Because again, 3 times the cost of a diesel. So in supporting, what does it mean if I don't support? Does it mean that then the state does not give us X money to do something else? Because we are not doing what is being, mandated? Then yes, I would absolutely fall in line for that. Again, assuming that we get that grant money that's going to say, all costs are covered.
Thank you. Kristen?
I agree that more information would be helpful, but free money, who doesn't like that? So I think what Karen said is really valid as far as if these are the standards that we're going to be held to, and there's support available, then I think it would be foolish not to apply.
Thank you. Michelle?
Again, going back to people coming to board meetings would be wonderful, because there has been a lot of discussion at the board meetings about how we will likely, it looks like coming down the road, be required to switch over to electric buses. As JT alluded to, there is a lot of concerns with that. How far can we go? What do you charge? What is the cost, which is astronomical, to be able to upgrade so that we can charge the buses? It's not just, refueling them, with diesel. As to if there's a grant, obviously if applying for it doesn't, prevent us from meeting requirements, then I think it would obviously be something that we should do our due diligence to do that. It could certainly help us a lot. And certainly if somebody has information about a grant that's out there, again, communication is key. Provide us with that information, because it would be something that we certainly would want to apply for if it's going to help us out financially.
Thank you. This is going to be our last question. Then first goes to Karen. Name one reason you are proud of the Galway School District.
The sense of community, because if you were to look at any of the people in this room, there are so many people in this room that wear so many different hats. It's not just I go here and then I go home. No, they go here and then they're doing this, they're volunteering to do this. And you see them all around town. You're seeing them at the games, you're seeing them after school, you're seeing them on the weekends. It's that sense of community that holds this town so tightly. That sense of tradition. My parents did that, my grandparents did that. We'd like to continue to do that. How can we continue to do that and still, again, come back into the children and continue to allow them to then experience, have all these different experiences and to grow to meet the needs of the new division of our world. So it is the sense of community that I really love about this.
Thank you. Kristen?
I agree. It's hard to pick just one thing, but I think that what stands out to me is the caring, close-knit relationships, and also just the willingness to support each other and be there for each other. in positive times, in negative times, just across the board. I think that really stands out as one of the most special things about our community, is that we're there for each other, and I really treasure that. So.
I agree. I think that, Galway for me has always been home. I think it's more than just community, it's family. Even the people who aren't family are family. And I think our school district has come to a point where we should be very proud of it. There's a lot of people moving into this community who are doing it because of the school district. We're making the school is sort of the hub of this community, and I think we're making our students graduate and be, up there with all the other big schools, and we're becoming competitive and becoming a place that I think we're all proud to be part of this community, part of this family.
So for me, it's the community, it's the family, but I'm most proud of Galway because it just feels like it's part of you. It's hard to explain. It's hard for me to explain anyway. When you're from here or you raise your kids here, it's just, if you know, you know. It's a fantastic place. One of my favorite things is that my son can take part in several different opportunities. And he actually has said to me, I may not have the same number of opportunities as I would at a bigger school, but I get to do every opportunity that I want to do. So it's just great. It's a great place to be. It's a great place to live. It's a great place to raise your families. It's a great place to invite people.
Thank you. It's now time for closing statements. Candidates, you have no more than 1 minute, and the first to speak will be Kristen.
All right. So this has been really fun, nerve-wracking, but really fun, and I'm glad I got the opportunity to talk to all of you and answer all those great questions that were submitted by our community members. So thank you to everyone who took the time to do that. My closing remarks, I guess just in summary, I would love the opportunity to serve on our board. I'll be hardworking, I'm honest, caring, and I would love to be able to support the community in this way. And I think you can feel confident in trusting me with your vote.
Thank you. Michelle?
Certainly I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting tonight. We haven't been able to do this in quite a few years. I want to thank all my teammates here for going against us. I think that it is good to see, this many people looking to be on the board. It's to some degree competition, but it is great to have more people interested in doing this. It's a lot of hard work, and I hope that you trust me with another 4 years of it. So thank you.
Thank you. JT?
If given the opportunity to serve on the board, it would fulfill something I felt that I wanted to do since my son was in kindergarten. It was something I felt drawn to for reasons it's hard to explain. I want to contribute. I want to be part of my community. I want to contribute in the best way that I know how. I'm very familiar with schools and how they function and the ins and the outs. And for me, just having this opportunity would be fantastic. And it would give me an opportunity to contribute in a way that I could do my absolute best and have the most success for my community.
Thank you. To Karen?
It has been an honor to be on this board, and for the last 5 years, and again, some of the highlights was approving the Veterans Tax Assessment Exemption, incorporating a trap shooting club in the school, because not everyone's an athlete, not everyone is going to be throwing basketballs or baseballs. And we recently purchased over 10.5 acres for use across the street, for more parking space. We're looking forward to putting that in place. And for your awareness, for those that can't make it to the meetings, this school, since I've been here the last 5 years, our independent external auditor consistently finds our district in a good financial state. And that's due to our administration and with the cooperation of the board in creating a wonderful budget that really looks towards the children, the curriculum, the taxpayers, and for our students. And I'm very pleased with the work that we've done. And I look forward to working, hopefully, for another 4 years. So thank you very much, and thank you for hosting.
Thank you. Please vote on May 21st. Ballots can be cast between 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. in the high school gym. An application must be filled out to receive an absentee ballot or an early mail-in ballot. These applications can be found on the school's website. Thank you, candidates, for attending this event and helping to inform voters in the school district on the issues that matter most to them. I want to also thank the public for submitting questions and audience members for being respectful and showing an interest in your community. Thank you. Good night.